As a free flowing spiritualist, even though I am free flowing, I am very much aware and connected to the technology, the spiritual technology that is in my lineage. And with that being said, with my immediate circle, which includes, my community, which is family, friends, people closest to you, I am the only one that is intentionally connected to the spiritual technology in my ancestral lineage. And that can pose and has posed as a personal challenge for me. It's not a challenge anymore. However, it has posed as a challenge for me coming out of religious programming and constructs, okay? And if you who are watching this, if you have walked away from church, you've separated from religion, if you just automatically attempt to test out or try or to involve yourself in just any spiritual practice without really taking the necessary time to recalibrate your nervous system after going through the spiritual violation that is religion, whatever spiritual practice that you try, you will always be trying. It will never be something that you just gravitate toward. It will never, the practice will just be you just dibbling and dabbling all over the place. There will be no foundation. There would be no stability. You may even get some results here and there, but it will not be consistent. You have to do recalibration on your nervous system, because when you do that, that is when you really truly identify the spiritual technology that is within your lineage, okay? And then from there, once you identify what is in your lineage, then that's where you can build upon that, okay? You can build upon that once you reconnect with the spiritual technology in your lineage. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to have your spiritual practice work for you. Your spiritual practices, I should say plural, should actually work for you, okay? And speaking of spiritual practice, we've got the full moon tonight. Yes, indeed. So, with that being said, you also have to allow yourself to try some things, to try out a practice. For example, I was talking with a client the other day. She is a woman who has been away from religion for a few years now. And she had been feeling, just this call, this desire to want to work with the phases of the moon, to work with the full moon. So I gave her some tips. And her desire to work with the full moon wasn't coming from a place of, I just want to try this or try that, and the full moon is on the list of all these things, these spiritual practices that I want to try. No, she was very calm. in her approach. And the reason why she was calm in her approach, or I should say is calm in her approach, in working with the energy of the full moon and making that and incorporating that as a part of her spiritual practice, is because she has been doing nervous system recalibration. One, she is intentional in not bringing over any religious indoctrination and religiosity over into whatever practice that she chooses, whatever practices that she chooses. She is intentional about learning. And that's another reason why when you're leaving religion, you don't just jump into a spiritual practice because it just looks fancy or it seems to be the popular thing to do. When you do that, that is coming from a place of being frantic, and you don't want to approach any spiritual practice with the energy of being frantic, because that's not going to help you either. So the nervous system recalibration that you do when you leave religion, it helps you stay calm in your approach to your spiritual technologies and your spiritual practice. It helps you approach your spiritual practices with ease. It helps you approach your spiritual practices, allowing your intuition to guide you into what practices are most beneficial to you. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the practices that are in your lineage, because it is what is in your bloodline. Okay? Now, that's not to say that you won't feel a pull or a call to something, to a practice or a spiritual technology that's not a part of your bloodline. I'm not saying that. That is a possibility that can happen. But most of the time, it's going to be within your DNA. Okay? And so I'm sharing that with you because really you want to do the nervous system recalibration, have the foundation, approach your spiritual practice in a calm and easeful way. And there is nothing wrong with you wanting to make an attempt to test out to see if, for example, working with the moon will work for you, if you will see results working with the phases of the moon. This will, when you do nervous system recalibration, it will also stop you from just going out to just gather a bunch of information without ever applying anything. That's a lot of times that is what happens to people who leave religion. They come over into spirituality and then they go back to religion saying, oh, well, it just didn't work. The spirituality didn't work, or the candle work didn't work. No, it's because you didn't work on recalibrating your nervous system. You got too much information. That can happen as well. So there's nothing wrong with attempting things, but approach it in a way that is soft for you. Approach it in a way where you're calm. Really feel into it. For example, I keep using the example of working with the phases of the moon. If you feel, oh, I kind of want to work with the full moon, check in with your body and ask yourself, okay, well, why? Why do I want to work with a full moon? Is it because somebody I saw online made it look fancy, made it look performative? Or do I really feel that my soul is calling me back to the energy of the moon? So, take these tips, all right? Let me know in the comments. If you want, let me know in the comments what practices you have attempted, what practices you may want to learn more about, all right, because you feel that your soul is calling you to that. And what have you done to check in with yourself to, in fact, see if this is something that your spirit is calling you toward? Until then, stay magical.